Thank you, Pierre. And I would like to thank Howayda al-Harithy and May Farhat for organizing the panel and all the panelists for their very rich papers. And we now open the floor to questions. Do you need the mic?
Thank you very much. My question is going around the bush about fiction. I attended 10 years ago Amin Ma'louf, kind of play that is being done for opera by Katia Sarajevo in English National Opera, L'amour de loin, whereby the story that the troubadour, whatever, in Toulouse in south of France, loved the Contessa of Tripoli. And the pilgrim who goes between these two places to the Holy Land carried the correspondence, and the troubadour died in the lap of the Contessa of Tripoli out of the power of love. I mean, they didn't marry or whatever as soon as they got in. So I wanted to go from here to what Dr. Moukarzel said at the end, the route of the Hajj or the pilgrims at that time, from fiction to reality. Can you trace a road or a way for pilgrims to come from Europe to the Holy Land, pass in Tripoli, and the coast to the Holy Land, from the stories that you told us and the good research you did?
No, they passed only by Beirut. They passed
not
only by
Tripoli.
Beirut. No, not by Tripoli. From Beirut, and then they continued to Palestine, but not by Tripoli.
So
During all the 15th century, we have only Jus van Gistel who visited Tripoli from all the pilgrims who visited the Holy Land.
Okay, what about fiction? That's all.
About fiction, there was a lot of...
A question for Professor al-Harithy. So you talked about the relations with the Venetians, and I was wondering if you ever found in any of the sort of literature the presence of funduk for the Venetians in Beirut during that period. And the second question was also, because I think I missed a point when you were talking about possibly the Zawiya al-Harraq was similar in terms of ground plan to the Madrasa of Zainuddin Yusuf in Cairo. Was that based on archaeological, architectural evidence, or based on, were you?
The first question, I did not really come across evidence for a funduk for the Venetians in Beirut, but it's not an unlikely scenario. For the Zawiya of Ibn Arraq, yes, there are evidence that it was much more than this square-domed building on two bases. One is textual, the description of the building of the house and the Zawiya near the Zawiya of al-Awza'i, locating the building and so on. But also architectural evidence, when they excavated in the souks, showed that this was part of a larger stone construction, particularly to its west. And that also gives us physical evidence that the domed cube was part of something larger. And the way it's located in relation to the Qibla, in relation to the building to its west, suggests a very not just the one I showed, but a very typical arrangement of this typology of buildings. And it falls within that norm. So it's a very likely scenario that, especially if you read in the text, that it became the tomb burial place for the Arnauti and then all the Ottoman walis. So it must have been a much larger establishment. And if it was turned into a madrasa, it means it was at least a multi-room building. So there are all kinds of evidence in that direction, but I didn't have time to show you the plans.
No more questions?
The geography of the Eastern Mediterranean always seemed to me like a very determinative factor in the rise and fall of Islam. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that. Because, for example, in Egypt, you have the Nile, and then you have the Euphrates, and then you have the Tigris, and then you have the Euphrates, and then you have the Tigris. So like the Greek islands and the Greek city-states, and like the Roman Empire, geography is a big part. So I heard like a contestation of the identity of Beirut, ancient identity, Arab, Muslim, Byzantine, so on and so forth. I wanted, and then the last presenter mentioned that it was the port of Damascus. Thinking about geography, it is very easy for Tripoli to be the port of the interior of Syria because of the opening in the mountains. It is very difficult for Beirut to be the port of Damascus. It is much easier probably for Jaffa to be the port of Damascus. The connection between Damascus and Nablus are probably stronger than the connection between Damascus and Beirut. So I just want, from the different views I was hearing about the importance or lack thereof of Beirut, I wanted to hear, I want to ask about the role of geography. Geography, plain.
Yes.
First of all, Tripoli was the capital of a niyaba. So it's another niyaba than the niyaba of Damascus, first of all. So, yes. Beirut was chosen to be the port of Damascus because the only city that its port remained intact after the occupation of the city by the Mamluks. While Acre, Jaffa or other ports were destroyed, were completely destroyed. And it's not difficult to send merchandise from Damascus to Beirut or vice versa, because the road between Damascus and Beirut is about 60 miles. Even if there are mountains and then 60 miles, and it can be imprinted and used even during night. And it can be also traversed in 24 hours. And we have examples in Salih ibn Yahya, when the city was attacked by the Genoese, in 24 hours, the Mamluk troops arrived in Beirut from Damascus. So for this reason, it was the main port of Damascus.
By the same token, Howayda was also a port for Damascus for also a good period of time during the late Mamluk, early Ottomans, because it's also not too far from Damascus. So it was not just Beirut, but they were interchangeably serving as the ports of Damascus.
The question has a background because growing up in Syria, I always heard that Beirut became a big city because Jaffa was taken, and then Damascus became a third city because Beirut was destroyed during the war. So there is no city in Syria or Palestine or Lebanon that can rise to prominence unless it kills another city. This is why I asked about the connection between these cities. I think it's all fiction, but it seems that for Tripoli to survive, you have to kill Beirut. For Beirut to survive, fight to promise, you have to kill Beirut. I just want to ask. This is my background of the question.
But that's not the historical narrative, actually. Maybe you're exaggerating to provoke us. But that's not historically founded. Yeah, because that's popular myth. It's not historical facts. Interesting. What's about fiction in this panel?
No, it works. Okay. Can you elaborate a bit on this Byzantine bath that's beneath the Umari Mosque? I think you brought it up. Because I had never, this is new to me, the presence of this Byzantine bath. And then you suggested that or a cistern rather, sorry, a cistern beneath
Cisterns
the
were discovered in 1953. And I don't think they were accessible for a very long time. But they're very much there. And if you go now to the Umari Mosque and maybe ask the attendants, they may be willing to take you and to see them. They've been renovated. They are spectacular, and
it's a hypostyle
granite. Yes.
It's amazing. I also went by accident there 20 years ago, and it's been closed since. But it's an amazing site.
But and the sole entry then, the sole entry is through the mosque itself then?
Mosque itself, yeah.
Okay, so this is a matter of negotiating with
You have to negotiate.
with the caretaker, yeah, okay. Sounds like it's worth it though, yeah, okay.
It's all granite.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much.